Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us for another show. Happy to have Brian Savage, the Swanton Town Administrator, guesting with us today, taping this show on Wednesday, December 14th. Brian, good to see you.
Oh, good to see you.
Well, Christmas gets ever closer. Actually looking a little bit like Christmas these days for a change.
It certainly is, yes.
And it sounds like, again, taping this show on Wednesday, December 14th, sounds like maybe even a halfway legitimate snowstorm in a couple of days.
I guess we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, it sounds like the weather folks, as of right now, are still having a little trouble with this one.
Right.
Weather's always a little tough. So how are things in the town of Swanton? You got everything or most things under control?
Well, things are very busy. There's a lot of positive things going on the last couple of weeks. We've received a grant to develop a trailhead on the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail.
Really? A trailhead?
Former select board member Joel Clark headed that up and actually did the grant.
Wow.
And we're going to use some ARPA funds for matching purposes. And we got the biggest grant of those awarded along the LVRT.
I guess maybe I did take note of that. That's great. So we're talking a trailhead?
Right. Well, which would be a parking area, bike repair station, perhaps, maybe some sort of a pavilion to get in out of the sun.
Wow. This being the site of the former town garage?
No, this is actually on Robin Hood Drive. It was a triangular piece of property, I guess is a good way of describing it, that the state still owned on former railroad property, so they've leased it to the town, and that will be developed there.
Wow.
So we received that. We received word that a welcome center looks like it's going to get built.
As in off the interstate.
Off the interstate.
In fact, I interviewed Tim Smith, the St. Albans Mayor, Franklin County Industrial Development Corp., and he's very happy to see some progress on that.
Now,
that's big news.
I believe it would be, and I'm not sure. It was reported to us in a board meeting on the 6th that it was going to be accessible by the interstate. But then in reading the press release when it was reported, they hadn't made that determination yet.
I think initially, well, what do I know? I think initially they weren't sure if it'd be right off the interstate or hooked into an exit. I think Tim at least was thinking that it's going to be right off the interstate.
I would.
Well, of course, you'd probably love to see.
I would prefer a PPP, as they call it, 333, public partnership.
And I suspect you'd love to see folks coming in on the Swanton exit to go to this?
To come off, but I know that sometimes can be difficult. And that they'd have to get off. They would be able to get gas and whatnot. Very similar to what's down at Exit 7 in Berlin. I personally like to see that.
Kind of sounds like it may just be off the interstate.
It may just be off the interstate, but in any case, it's still either way. It's definitely a step in the right direction. Downtown, Merchants Row is bustling now. We have a couple of new businesses that have opened there. I know this is in the village, but it does affect, of course, what goes on in the town. Yeah. And Gordon Winters is continuing renovations of the old Champlain Theater.
Wow.
And it was good to see about, I guess, maybe a month and a half ago that the old marquee of the Champlain Theater was actually reattached to the building that hasn't been there for probably since 1964.
Really?
And it's been rewired, and he does hope to light it up when the time comes.
And his plans for what to do with the old Champlain Theater?
Well, they're renovating it right now, but I believe he's still looking for a tenant.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen, but it's really looking good. It's the best I've ever seen that building.
Really?
So that whole area is really looking great. So he's to be complimented for the hard work.
Yeah,
there.
that's great. I noted the messenger story. I guess the village trustees, Neil Spear, village president, looking at maybe some new signage for the village too, I guess.
Right. I hadn't seen that, but they are. I know they had mentioned it, and of course the village's other project is the Hotel Riviera property.
Boy, the River's still with us. In fact, I'll be interviewing the trustees later today,
and they'll fill you in on that. Yeah. But that's it's hopefully it'll come down in a.
Yeah, that's
soon.
on my list.
Yeah.
And again, Brian, you know Bill Sheets, of course, big news in
Right.
Swanton Village.
Yes.
The new village manager who will be succeeding Reg Beliveau, someone you know, I guess Swanton native.
Yeah, I know certainly the family. I didn't know Bill that closely. I've met him a couple of times, and was always he seems to be a great guy. He's very very good background, and so I think it's a good fit. We're looking forward to working with him.
That's right. You've been on the job for how long now? As Swanton Town Administrator?
I was hired 1 year ago, the first of this month.
Wow!
And I
so
officially took over January 1st.
All right, so just about a year.
Just a year. Yeah.
That's right. A good year.
It's been a very busy year. A lot going on, but I expected that. It was a good year. It was. Of course, I had no sooner got into it, and I ran into a health issue. But
you got by
that,
okay.
and everything is, I guess, just got checked last month, and the doctor said I'll see you back in 6 months.
Oh,
so
good.
everything
Glad to hear it.
went very well there. I'm very grateful, and thank everyone for their support. So it slowed me up for about 3 weeks, and then I got back into the swing of things, and continuing.
So that year, and you certainly knew, of course, former longtime legislator. Did you kind of know what you were getting into as it turned out, or any huge surprises about the job?
No, there was no huge surprises. There was, of course, there's a learning curve, as with any position. The interesting thing with the job, there's always something different every day. You may plan on doing something on one day, and then as soon as the phone rings, well, we've got an issue.
I got to think that's pretty nice, I would think.
And so you have to juggle your stuff around, but all in all, it works. We got a small but great staff that work for the town, and they do excellent work, and we all communicate well together, and so that's I think. It makes really a pleasure working there. Yeah.
Again, many years in the legislature for you. Do you miss those days at all, or not especially?
Not really. I think it was. I missed some of the people that I obviously worked with. I mean, I have friendships that have developed. And I assume lifelong friendships, and so that part of it I miss. I did not miss going out campaigning this year, and I don't miss the politics really. I will say there was a number of things that I do in my job over the course of the past year, and I'm thinking, that the state requires a certain thing be done a certain way, and I'm thinking, I knew there was a reason I voted against that, and they do. That's one thing I've seen now on both sides. The state they pass a lot of laws and pass it on to the municipalities to do what needs to be done, and that's it's creating. A lot of work, in a lot of cases, a lot of expense for the municipalities.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing it in both ends, and but it's been a learning curve all the way around. And this past election was the first time since 2006 I was actually able to work the polls. Wow. Because I was always on the ballot, so that was interesting. It was a long day, but it was enjoyable. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Vermont, again, Phil Scott, just another landslide election, our Republican governor, and just struck by Franklin County being such an alternate universe up here. The local legislative delegation now, 12 Republicans and one Democrat, Mike McCarthy, who happens to be my rep in St. Albans City. But, boy, statewide, I'm sure Republicans concerned with Demos having a supermajority that concerned the Demos may be able to do whatever they want. I guess we'll see.
Which they've been, they've
been on the brink of that for a while anyway.
Well, pretty much. I mean, I was only out of the years I was in the legislature, there was only one session. How many years,
Brian?
I was there for 13 years.
Wow.
And only one session, and one term, did we have enough to sustain a veto.
Is that right?
Yeah. And
Wow.
that was 50. We had 53 in our caucus.
Wow. Now down to, I think, what, 37 or
38,
something?
30, something
Yeah.
like that. It's
Yeah.
very low. So it's some things that the veto was sustained last year. I was amazed at, but they had to work hard, and so it will remain to be seen just what will happen. At some point, I feel that the framers of the Constitution, both on the federal level and I'm sure the framers of the Vermont Constitution, since the best legislation comes out of compromise, I don't think they ever envisioned supermajorities.
Yeah.
But it's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
And I think, and I know there was one session, and I can't recall when it was, and quite a number of years ago now, it was split evenly, 75-75
Really?
in the House. And
Wow.
they said that was some of the best legislation came out
Really?
of that session, because they had to compromise.
That's right. Of course, that makes me think of the federal government with the Senate basically split 50-50, and I'm
Right.
not sure a whole lot of good stuff is coming out of that. But
Right.
anyway, I guess another issue.
Yeah.
Vermont, certainly, I've been around for a while. It just seems like Vermont still gets a reputation of not being business friendly. Now that you're not a legislator on kind of a different side of things, do you see it that way, or is that sure?
I
Always seen it that way?
Yeah,
Seems like it's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do. I mean, it's there's the endless stream of permits required
Yeah.
at the state level,
Yeah.
all come with some sort of expense to them, and some of those fees are really getting up there high. We just have to look across the lake and see when they're talking about something. If you're watching the 6 o'clock news
Yeah.
and somebody's talking about something, next thing you know, the business is opening up. I mean,
Is that right? And this is New York too.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's I've thought that for a long time, and I don't really see it changing. But at the local level, we certainly try to do the best we can to get things done efficiently, and we welcome business. But a lot of this stuff that is required is certainly out of our control.
Yeah. March town meeting, not all that far away. Are you pretty much immersed in budget work?
Right. We've
you guys are fiscal year or calendar?
Calendar year.
Calendar.
Yeah. We each select board meeting for the past month, we have anywhere from 1 to 3 budgets that we're going to review, or an appropriation request that we're going to review.
Yeah.
Of course, at this point, many of the budgets that we receive are not finalized yet for this year, because the end of the year isn't there. But they, do the best we can with what we got, and they estimate what they're going to be needing in the next calendar year. We haven't seen any large increase yet, but we've really just only started the budget.
And I'm sure inflation's not factoring in at all to anything. I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, there's certainly departments that are dependent on fuel.
Right.
We got our highway department, which we have not seen the budget yet, but and they use a lot of diesel fuel.
Yeah. Which I guess mercifully has come down a bit for at least the time being.
It has come down a bit, but so we'll have to take a good look at that, and there's not much we can do. I mean, and it's dependent on the weather, as we know.
Sure.
You may be. You could have a very rough winter with a lot of overtime and whatnot. It's unfortunate we don't have a crystal ball to see what we're going to be faced with.
That'd be nice. Staffing, you doing okay? I just interviewed Jonathan Giroux, the St. Albans Town Select Board Chair. They're after a new road foreman at this point.
Yeah.
You folks doing okay staffing-wise?
Yeah, we're doing. We're fully staffed.
Yeah.
We've had a little change in the past year, but it was all been taken care of. Right now we're fully staffed. But I do know that last year, the state of Vermont as a whole were short about 140 snowplow operators.
Well, I guess I've heard that story.
And I'm not
Boy,
sure
that's a lot.
That's a lot. I'm not sure what we're at this year going into the winter. So,
Wow.
you know, everybody, that's a concern for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Any kind of noteworthy items coming up at March Town Meeting? Anything out of the ordinary? Big projects coming up, Bryant? Or
Well, we've got some projects. I'm not sure they're going to be ready for the March meeting. The Recreation Department has proposed, and the Select Board has committed $600,000
Wow.
of the ARPA funds toward the building of a recreation community center.
Right. I guess I have taken note of that, which would be something the town could really use.
Right. I'm not sure if it'll be ready for a vote on town meeting day because it's just in the engineering and the permitting phase and everything, and getting some good cost estimates. So that may not be ready in time. We have the usual with the highway department. We have to take a look at what we're going to be doing for obviously paving and culvert repair.
Yeah.
We had to repair a culvert that was not planned for
On
Macquam Shore.
Run.
That project is now finished. It came out very nice, and we just got in under the bad weather.
Wow. And that was unexpected. You
That
didn't
was
see
totally
coming?
unexpected.
Really?
It's the culvert started sinking in about early to midsummer.
Wow.
Then it was determined that it was obviously sinking pretty good, and so we had to address that sooner than later. We couldn't wait because if it failed in the winter, and it would take whatever
Right.
price it was going to be, it would be like double it.
Yeah.
Anyways, we did go ahead and we said, well, we'll do it before winter sets in.
Yeah. So you got that done.
Yeah, just under the wire, but the weather cooperated. So, that's that's an ongoing situation. These things do happen, and we have to deal with them.
Yeah.
So we have not sat down and discussed the actual specifics of the highway budget. That will be coming up. That's one of the last budgets we take a look at.
What have you got? Miles of road in the town? Is that a figure? How many you have?
I think it's about, I want to say 70 miles
Really?
or thereabouts.
And now all paved? Was there?
Mostly are all paved. There's a
Mostly.
very small portion that is not. Now, we get many requests for some of the developments.
Who would like the town to take
taken
over?
and we're not. The select board has decided not to take over
Really?
anything at this time because
Right.
we can barely take care of what we've got with what we've got.
Yeah.
And able to take on more, it would involve obviously. Buying additional equipment and probably hiring another position or so. So, that's it has to be considered as well. So for the time being, anyhow, that's been the board's position. So
Right.
we will, and I certainly agree. I mean, it's taking care of roads. Can be very expensive.
Right. Speaking of roads, Route 78 in West Swanton, or maybe all of Route 78, but I think of West Swanton.
Yeah.
Some work will be happening out there in the not too distant future. Has that been put off for a while?
I have not heard that it's been put off.
Yeah.
I know they were still, but they have put some blacktop. They resurfaced it this summer.
I did notice some, a little work out there.
And actually, it's created, and I kind of agree with them. We've had more accidents involving tractor trailers. There's very little shoulder, especially going through the S.
I know the road only too well, having lived on Lakewood Drive for about 5 years.
There was one yesterday.
Really?
Yesterday morning.
Wow.
And not a tractor trailer, but it was a truck. It took out a utility pole. So that's still a concern, and they've actually made the shoulders narrower which is certainly once if the rear wheels of a truck catches, they've lost it at that point.
Wow.
You know, so it's still a very dangerous road.
Well, I'll occasionally see a bike rider along that road, and I cringe when I do, as you can imagine.
Right. So I hope they continue and get going. We've got to find out from them if they are still planning on doing it, because we were originally told it was just this was a Band-Aid. This resurfacing was a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
But you know how things can go with the state.
Yeah. And boy, truck traffic, it's so easy to think of Swanton and truck traffic.
Mhm.
No reason to think, I'm sure people are hoping, can't you do something about, isn't it about like 16% of the traffic through Swanton? I think that's the percentage I've heard, Brian, of truck traffic, which is certainly higher than the average. But anyway, a lot of truck traffic.
I haven't seen recent numbers. When I was on the Village Board of Trustees years ago, we were saying 20%.
Or even 20.
20% of the traffic was
Wow.
trucks.
Wow.
And of that 20% of trucks, well, I guess, which at the time was like maybe 800 to 1,000 trucks per day.
Is that right?
But 20% of those are carrying some sort of hazardous material.
Wow.
But 80% of that 20% was petroleum products,
Wow.
which are bad, but they won't necessarily kill you instantly unless you're, but some of the other stuff that's going through there is really, scary.
Right. I guess so. I guess maybe there's some hope. In fact, I had to go to the Montreal airport just a couple of days ago, going up through Highgate Springs, and they're working on, I guess, that last segment, which will come right down. Is there at least some hope when that gets done that maybe some of the truck traffic will ease, maybe Route 78, or I guess not significantly, probably, huh?
We're hoping that, but we won't know until it opens up.
Yeah.
The routes the truckers use to get out of the city, especially if they're on the west end.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they will want to just keep going and come across Champlain.
Right, just keep going down towards to New York.
Because they have to look to where they can clear customs quicker, and Champlain is a bigger port. Although I know that Haygate's going to be having some improvements.
I guess they're going to get. Because of the expectation of more traffic coming down with the new road.
We'll have to see. Hopefully, maybe it will take off some of the truck traffic.
But I guess no reason to think things change significantly anytime soon, if ever. I mean, ever's a long time, but
it's. But we'll keep our fingers crossed.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about town meeting. At least one change coming up. James Gilmet, your current chair, not running for re-election in March.
He announced his retirement from the board a couple of months ago. James is self-employed.
Sounds like a pretty busy guy with his work.
He's real busy with his work.
Yeah.
When you're self-employed and you've got to take time off to tend to such as select board business, and there's always something that he has to do during the workday on town business. Well, when you're self-employed, that's hitting the bottom line. It's tough, and after so many years of doing it, he's served very well for quite some time now. I certainly understand why he's stepping down.
Yeah, and you recently lost Mark Rushlow, who had been the vice chair of the board, stepped down.
He stepped down
recently
as well, again because of time commitments, and there is a time commitment to the job.
Yeah, for sure,
definitely.
And Steve Bourgeois was appointed.
He was
into that seat.
Yep.
And that seat is also up in March.
Yes, that'll be up in March. And
but again, already you're seeing some petitions. So
there are some petitions out that have been that are being circulated. So so it looks like we're going to have a contest in some manner for one of the seats, maybe both of the seats. So it'll make it interesting.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the fairly new town garage out on Route 78, that's worked well.
It's been working very well. Yes, yeah. It's about getting close to 10 years old now.
Oh, so actually
well,
not
actually
so
maybe a
new.
little over that, but time goes by quick.
Interesting. And the former site, I guess that would be a village trustee issue, or is that
No,
a town?
that's
it's
a town issue.
Former
That's
town garage.
That's town property.
You're still pondering what to do right by
No,
the
well,
elementary school?
right now we're waiting for the state of Vermont. Here we go.
There we go.
The Department of Environmental Conservation has to do. They're doing a site review because back years ago there was one site review that was done because of hazardous material that was found, just a little square spot, if you would.
Really?
So now, but the rules changed between 2005 and present time. So we've been waiting for DEC to get this done now because we had an engineering firm do it. Then they sent it to the DEC to do this review.
Yeah.
And this has been going on for months.
Really?
And they say, oh, we'll get to it next week.
Wow.
We'll and then
So that's kind of holding things
right.
up, huh?
So the plan is to develop that into some fields for recreational use, such as maybe soccer field or athletic fields of some sort.
How big's that site?
I think was it 2 acres?
No, it's I guess bigger than I thought.
Yeah, and
Initially, I think the select board was thinking selling that for housing.
Yes,
And then got some public reaction. I guess
that's right.
public didn't see that as a good way to go.
That's right. I guess not. And
and of course,
there's-
right off the rail trail.
right there. Yeah. So we're waiting on the state on that one. So we'll have to wait until they're done. And there's both water and sewer at the site. I mean, because the town garage had it, so it's there.
Yeah.
If we decide that we want to put restrooms or something there, or what have you, it's there. So that I don't know what they found that was consent, but apparently I did some research. The old town garage was built in the late 1940s.
Yeah.
But prior to that, that was a coal. Swanton Lumber, I guess, sold coal in the back in the day, and that's where they stored it. It was there, and it was a coal depot. And whether that's it, I don't know what this little spot. We're only talking a few square feet.
Right, really, literally a few square feet.
Yeah,
Stuff like that must just drive you crazy.
It does. I mean, we just put concrete over it and forget it. Just
Interesting.
cap it off. But no, they have to check the whole property, I guess.
Wow. Interesting.
Yep, so.
Police coverage in the town from Swanton Village PD. You're satisfied with that going okay?
This seems to be going okay. We have a lot of issues with speeders.
Well, it sounds
but
like
that's
speeding's
every
always an
place.
issue.
That's every place. But the village police cover the town 56 hours a week.
Oh, yeah.
That's 7 days a week, 8 hours a day.
Oh, wow. And those hours change, I assume?
No, they're pretty much the nighttime hours.
Yeah.
But the board last year looked into the possibility of expanding that coverage. And they've, of course, it comes with a price tag, and they have not had that discussion yet. I got to request some information from the chief, and then we can decide what we're going to do. But I don't see us cutting the number of hours. If anything, we'll be increasing them. But there's unfortunately a sign of the times that there's a lot of need for police. That it's the speeding is just a small fraction of what the more serious problems are that we've got going on. So again, no different than any other community. We all have problems, and but overall, they do their best at trying to get things under control.
On that note, Brian, we're going to wrap it up, but congratulations on your
Well,
first year on the job.
Thank you.
Hope folks in the
half
in the
hour
town
went
have a
by
good,
quick.
happy holidays, good Christmas. But again, thanks to Brian Savage, the Swanton Town Administrator, and thanks to my man Hunter Denault, our producer out there, for doing all the hard work. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. See you next time.